I guess not rule changes, but the changes that are coming possibly to the postseason.
The proposal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
do
Let's
it.
talk about it for a little bit. You know, we were
So-
planning
Is it
to.
so, well, we got a week and a half till they vote, Nate? Is that what you said last week?
I believe it's regionals. Because
So-
every team will be participating. There's some teams that might not have anybody go to sectionals.
So I was actually listening to the video with Hansen and Luloff. If you guys haven't checked it out, I would definitely recommend go checking it out. The link is on the forum. They do a great job of breaking it down. I've got some of the graphics from that to kind of take a look at kind of what's going on. So pretty much the three divisions, they're trying to make it all equal. Teague, Nate, add in whatever you want. I just listened to this, so I'm still fresh, but pretty much trying to make everything equal. So three divisions, breaking it down. They'll have 7 qualifying sites, just kind of making everything streamlined, it seems like. So it's not, as of right now, you've got D1's different than D2, different than D3, so all that stuff. So this is kind of what they're looking to do. Getting rid of regionals and sectionals would be the way that you qualify for state. Anything from here that either of you guys want to add into this part?
Yeah, I think the schedule would be individual sectionals would be one weekend, and then team sectionals would be the other weekend, like the next weekend, and then you go into individual state and then team state.
Yes.
So
and I would say we've talked about this. I was so against the whole proposal and the idea.
Right.
And I sat in and I listened. Yes, you take away, so there's 16 that qualify for Division 1. You take that away and it'll go down to 14. And then the other divisions will also be able to come up to 14 instead of being at 12. So Division 2 and 3 will go to 14. So you are gaining a little bit more. Yeah, you have the numbers there. I initially hated it. Now I've thought about it more and more. I really don't hate it. I'm kind of okay with it. Honestly, I am okay with it. The thing that I have a gripe with has nothing to do with this. It has to do with whether it was this proposal that passes or what we currently have. And it's actually part of one of my overreactions. But there is a very big issue with where teams are put for the regional or sectional. Just like the pairing wise, I don't want to watch my overreactions and stuff, but like in general, I think that every year you have to reassess to see what teams are in what divisions anyways. And like the last couple of years, if this passes, we have to again reassign the regionals and divisions. And like the sectionals, and if you adjust teams, you have to put new people in and out anyway. So you are taking a look at it anyways. I think they should do it every year, whatever the answer is, but they need to divide up the regionals and sectionals so they're better equally distributed with the best teams, because the best teams will also have the best individuals. So I don't think there are teams that drive several hours already to go to a regional or sectional. So it doesn't really matter if they're driving several hours a different way or that way. Who cares as long as they're in their division? I don't think anybody cares about that. Football already does that. They drive all the way across the state for the quarterfinal round of this, for a game and stuff. So I think that needs to be better distributed with the best and the worst teams. And that's just for quality of competition at the state tournament. But the proposal, for what we've talked about so far,
this is what the brackets would look like at sectionals. So a little idea of what we're looking at. So if you lose that first round, you're just done. And Hansen made a good point on the video, was that these guys that are in this position that lose probably wouldn't even be making it to sectionals. So you got to think about you are eliminating that one weekend, so there's more people at sectionals, but you don't have that regional. You can see this.
To add on to his point, if you lose first round at sectionals right now,
you're done anyways.
Yeah, you're already out.
Yep. So this is how the bracket would look. One thing that was interesting that I didn't really think about was that even if you're not going to be making it to state, those 5th and 7th place matches do hold a lot of weight for getting your team to team sectionals, whereas in the past, sectional it meant nothing for the team. So now every match does count. Everyone is kind of a contributing player, regardless if you're going for first or going for 7th. So I did think that was kind of interesting. But then take a look at the new team structure. So 3 divisions with 8 people or 8 teams qualifying to state. So 7 team sectionals. Those would be on Saturday, and that 8th qualifier would be a wild card. So you have the 7 champs, and then they bring in they run the seeding things of the available teams of first and second, and they take out the best team that is in second place. So that eliminates that Tuesday team sectional. We'll take a look at what the bracket would look like. So number 1 and 2 seeds would have a bye. They would wrestle back, or I guess wrestle to first, and then you've got that true second. So this is kind of what we're looking at for the team stuff. What are you guys' thoughts on this? Each division will combine the first and second place teams and rerun the team state tournament seeding. The highest team highest seed that isn't a champ will be that wild card team. So that's where they get that additional team to make it an even 8. So that's kind of how the team state qualification process will work.
I just want to say real quick before we get too far away from the individual stuff. There's be a lot of D1 fans out there that at first think, oh, we're losing 2 qualifiers, but you're also losing 16 schools. So you're not actually adversely being affected because it's the same percentage of guys qualifying like out of the field of schools as it is that we have now. So
yeah, which is important point for sure.
And it's crazy. I think someone on the forum, and like maybe I need to like double check their numbers too, but of the hypothetical 16 teams that would be going down a division like from last year, this year, they had 28 state qualifiers, which is wild. Like how it perfectly mathed out like that. But yeah.
So I think. Do you want to go, Jake?
I have a question. This might be a dumb question. I don't know if you guys have an answer to it. With the equality between the divisions now, with teams moving towards D1, how does everything stay equal if it's broken down into 3 divisions? Are teams shifting down to D3 as well?
It's gonna be 112 teams in Division 1, 112 in Division 2, and then every team below that line is in Division 3. So
if a team bumps up to D1, competitive balance. So like
up to D.
Fenimore switched to D2. Now it's one more team in D2. Does a team get pushed back down to D3?
Correct.
I think that would, I was gonna say I think that makes the most sense. Teague says that's correct. I mean, that makes sense. It's only one team in that case. It's like, okay, you take the bottom team in that Division 2 thing, and there's one team that comes up from Division 3. You know what? They've earned the right to come up, and that team as well. They were the worst one, so you send them down. I think
I hate competitive, but that's a different.
Based off I'm not a fan of competitive balance either. Based off though the individual and the team sectional regional thing that's going on with like distributing, in the team they have the wild card to try and make sure the right teams are that one other team can qualify. With the rules that are being proposed or the rules that are current, I think part of that can still be fixed by, again, like what I was just ranting about of how you equally distribute the competitive teams in the sectionals and things like that. You don't just because this is a hotbed area of the state, you don't group them all together and just say, well, that's just where they are. Like, you don't do that. I realistically, you don't need to do that. So that I think fixes part of it. And then obviously with the new, like kind of their new strategy, I think that also would help. I had a different point about that, and I just lost my train of thought.
I do like the wild card thing in regard to like what Weiler was saying is that, and we've seen it in D3 when Aquinas and Fenimore and Iowa Grant were all in the same sectional. You get the chance to get that other team in there, but like 1 and 2 shouldn't really be meeting up at a team.
I know what
kind of goes to your point, Nate, where like you got to be able to kind of break it into groups where you're not getting a state final on a Saturday in some random high school gym.
And the way you do that is, this is the final point I was going to make, is if you have to move teams and shuffle them around what regional sectional they're going, I guarantee you people aren't really going to be too upset about it, because the majority, I don't think, of people will be upset. But the way you do that is you look at last year's results. You have the state tournament. You don't have to look at who's incoming as freshmen. All you look at is who's returning. Very simple. And you don't even have to look at the whole team if you don't want to. You don't have to break down every single team and how many starters they're returning. If you have someone that can do that, or a couple of people that will actually do that, great. Or you just look at the teams and who qualified for state, how many they qualified, who's all leaving, how many people that weren't seniors do they have staying. Based off of just even that, you're probably going to get a better idea of how to group
Couldn't you
people
just take
together.
team score minus graduated seniors from state?
What's that?
Couldn't you just take the unofficial team scores from individual state, take out the seniors, and see what your power programs are, and then just make sure they're not going to meet up? I mean, there's
that's
more
what I'm
deep
saying.
than-
Like you
yeah.
do it
I like
in
that.
a little bit easier way. Like that would be a very simplified way to do it. Obviously, you could break it down even more if you wanted to, but that is a very simplified way of like, okay, now you got your team scores of everyone that's returning. Boom. All right. So these teams, and we're basing it off of this. We'll probably be good. Let's just look at our assignments.
But it does suck that.
I have a different proposal that I thought of, and it's definitely like a little more convoluted, I guess, and not as like, it'd be hard to get a perfect setup for this, but all the teams that I talked to that would not mind the travel are teams that would have a shot at going to team state, like if they were in a different sectional, or B, their individuals they'd have a way better shot at getting more individuals to individual state if they were in a different sectional. Here's what I wouldn't want. I would not want a team that has 3 kids on it to travel 5 hours on one Saturday just for that, because that is not, I don't think that would be the way at all to promote it. So I think what you could do, or in my head, this is how it would work, is you start off the year, you have all the assignments. Like that's how it looks at the start of the year. Once you get to the end of the year, so let's say it's with 7 sections, like realistically, like a lot of the qualifiers and the team contenders, you could probably get a big chunk of that out of either like the top 21 or top 28 teams. It has to be a multiple of 7. You do whatever, like to seed those teams 1 through 28, or try to get a 1 through like 28 rank, something like that. Okay. And then the only teams that move are those top 3 or 4 teams in each section.
I think that's a great way to think about it too, Teague.
And it's a lot. And I know people are like, well, it's last, but football, they literally do bracketing in one night. And
basketball does the same thing.
All those teams would love it. Even if you're a team that doesn't maybe have a shot to go to team state, like if you're a team that gets caught and could caught a sectional, but you're still going maybe to a different spot that's not as low, like you probably take that trade-off. It's these coaches are very aware of how good their teams are and how good they are compared to other teams. And I think some of them, even if their team didn't have a shot of going to team state, I think they would just like to be like, oh, it'd be nice to have more of a shot of like this kid being able to go or something. I don't know. Just yeah.
No, I like that.
I don't hate that either. Football, basketball, they give their assignments and it's like, oh, you have a first round game against a team that's 2.5 hours away. Like, okay, they just found that out 4 days ago or 5-6 days ago, whatever it is.
And somehow people travel and they get loud. And I remember school taking a bus to, I don't even know, a couple hours away to go watch a football team, which is what you did. It was exciting.
Well, and also, if you have a week before team sectionals, once you get your 6 sectional qualifiers, could you perhaps find a somewhat neutral gym? Or
I think that might be. I think you probably have to choose the site. I don't know if that might be too quick, because even like the state playoffs, when they go for football, when they get to the neutral sites, that's 4 weeks away because they know it's in the semifinals. Like they're like semifinals will be held at UW Oshkosh football field. Like they know that.
I don't think they determine that. Okay, so Matt, host sites need to prepare. Maybe a little more preparation in wrestling than football. Yeah.
I agree that would probably be too hard to move around a host site for wrestling, but I think.
But those teams that are competing don't care if they have to travel one more Saturday.
Right. So you can make the teams. You can assign those team sectional locations. Be like, hey, you're going to host a team sectional no matter what. Like you are hosting a sectional this year. Okay. Then they know. I think that would still be fine.
I just wish it wasn't 6 teams on Saturday. I also don't love the first round bye for the 1 and 2 seed, because now I go weigh in and I'm going to go sit in that gym. I'm going to weigh in at whatever time, 7. And then the first round's at 9. And I'm like, oh, dang, I don't wrestle till noon. Like that sucks. I think
Well,
you
it's
get
just
those 4 teams in there, and it's boom. You win your first duel, you're in the finals. That's it. End of story. Like you're in, you're out. It's a 2-duel day. It's no more than 4 hours. But when
it's
I
no more
saw
than 3 hours. 2 duels,
when
you
I
get
saw
done.
the
You get
bye
done in an
first
hour and a half
round,
max each duel.
like they don't need the 5 and the 6 seed in there, and that's also just too deep. Yeah, so I don't know. I do like
I
the
wonder if that
overall.
was done based on numbers or something. Like
They
if they
they did.
looked
I
at
asked originally, and they said that they're trying to get part of it. I think I'm trying to remember fully everything. I might be missing something, so if I am, I apologize. Part of it was trying to get more teams involved. Part of it was they were like, well, sometimes those 5 or 6 teams, like those 5, 6 seed teams, really like they have a shot and stuff. Like you gotta like put them in there because sometimes they will make it. I was like, if you didn't, like, my head is like, there's got to be a cutoff. It's not a participation thing. I'm just
I
like,
agree.
I move that bar higher because it's like it's not risk reward, but
Just think about the discrepancy between 1 and 6. 1 and
Right.
4 is probably gonna be big enough.
It's just more like the cons. They're like some of those teams are like they're not great at individual tournaments, but they're really good at the dual tournament, and that's why we're trying to like make sure that they can still qualify because some of them could win it because they're just not good individual teams. And I was like, okay, I understand that, but also like realistically, there also just needs to be a bar of like what is better and what isn't better in a 6-team dual tournament on a Saturday. Is just not good when it comes to a consumer friendly event for any sort of fans or students that want to come, a band. Like you're not, like I said last week, like you're not getting any of those things when people have to be in the gym for 5 to 6 hours. When realistically you could have them in the gym for 3 hours, get in and get out. And you
It
can
is
bring
also a
band.
lot more stress on that host school. You're now running a full event versus
versus like a
dual
Friday
meets.
night you could run this dual tournament or a Saturday, like this dual meet, two matches. Like we do that now on a Tuesday.
See, Larry's got the testimony on the travel thing. Nakusa, they've been in 3 of their 4 sectionals in like the last few. That's why Rapids is kind of a pinball team too, which
Yeah.
Rapids
funny because they're
moved around.
15 minutes
That was
from
the
each
first one I
other.
thought of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, I
W's-
mean, like if you told Aquinas that this year, and I like Aquinas' odds of potentially qualifying for team state this year. If you told Aquinas, like, hey, you get to go to a different sectional, like your drive is 2 hours longer, then like you would have a 95% chance of going to team state as opposed to 50%. If I were Deke, I would take that every day.
yeah.
I have a source. This is the final thing I'll say in this matter. I will not out my source, but they texted. So maybe
It's like one of the 30-something people listening.
maybe they don't want their name to be said. But my source says Iowa uses coaches rank to determine host site. Top 8 teams host, then 2 teams travel to them, and winner wrestles host for state bid. That's also probably a good option as well, I think. And it's like set ahead of time. Like maybe you don't know who it is exactly, but like you have an idea.
Coaches ranked to determine host sites. Love that. Good stuff. Yeah, because that gets 24 teams in the postseason race. So,
yeah, 6 teams though. That's the number one
You're
thing
right
about
back.
this whole proposal that I'm so against, and I really, really hope other people are against that. And I think the proposal should pass. Maybe like I don't know, but they need to amend part of it. Like when you're passing a bill, you gotta. There's parts of it that they keep and parts of it that they change and they don't keep. But bill becomes a law. I don't know if anybody remembers that whole thing from government in high school.
I'm
Song.
just a bill up on
Bill,
The little animation thing, the cartoon.
Yeah.
The meta
they need to
analysis
eliminate
of this
that.
proposal. Oh, sorry, Nate.
No, yeah, I was just saying they need 6 teams is like I'm so adamantly against that, and I hope other people like speak up about that. Jake, obviously, I know you're against it too. 6 teams is too much. Keep it at 4.
I'm gonna make a poll.
Do it, really.
Serious.
It needs to stay at 6. That's all or excuse me, 4. That's all I have to say.
The meta analysis of the proposal. I know this is a good proposal because it's already opened the door to so many new conversations that were hard to have before. Because everything, like every time I try to think of a good solution, it'd be like, oh, well, like teams wouldn't want to travel so far on a Tuesday, or it's like, oh, we already have 5 Saturdays locked up or whatever. So I think this really does open the door for a lot of opportunities, and hopefully, big picture, we end up getting more time at the Kohl Center. So then it can be all 16-man brackets like everyone would ideally like.
I have a hot take about this actually, that like the whole concept as a whole, like if you look at the forum, there's a lot of people on both sides. You look at this voting thing, it comes down to regionals. And I believe it's all the head coaches get a vote across the state. I think it's a poll or something, how, I don't know exactly how that works, but here's my hot take that I have for you guys. Wrestling is far too bureaucratic. There are too many people who have a say, and it realistically, I don't know if it should go down to just one person, but it should go down to like no more than like 3. You can get input from other people, but there are too many people who have actual voting rights and a say. And it's not because they're wrong. It's because nothing can ever happen because it's too big. It's just like you need, excuse me, but like shit needs to happen, whatever it is. Sometimes maybe it's worse. Sometimes maybe it's better, but you can't do it when it's just so bureaucratic. You look at other sports like the NFL or the NBA, and I know we're not a professional sport, but it's not just pros, but in college, there's a college commission. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like there are people,
There's a
the
singular
NCAA,
person.
there is someone who holds power that gets shit done, right? And then sometimes it doesn't go the way you were intending. It wasn't as good of a result, but you know what? Like, then you can amend it the following year and make changes. Wrestling, too many people have a say, too bureaucratic. You need to take input from people, but you need to bring that puppy down a little bit and give it to one person to call the shots, or just a small group of people.
Too many chefs in the kitchen.
Like a
Seriously.
pope of Wisconsin wrestling.
What's that?
Like a pope of Wisconsin wrestling.
Or
Man, who would that would be a big that'd be a big job. That'd be lots. I will say this. We have a great product, and I said this last time, I'll say it again. Man, those 3 days at the Kohl Center, amazing. And I love that it's sold out, it's packed. Not a lot of states can say that. So hopefully, obviously everything that's going to happen is going in the right direction, but there's always some things to switch up and change. What are you going to say, Nate?
Nothing. We're good.
You're full of hot takes.
Yeah, fired up sometimes.
Little overreactions. When's that going to come out? I know you were getting ready to film.
I was editing it before this, so it should be up by tonight. I was probably like a